Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pretty with Purpose podcast, unleashing the power within you. If you can't hear it in my voice, I'm going to share it. I am so excited because this is this is the birthing of the first episode of Pretty with Purpose, Unleashing the Power Within You podcast. Yay! Oh my, wow. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. I look forward to going on this journey of discovery with you. Together, we're going to dig deep. We're going to go into self-discovery, inspiring topics and stories, and of course, giving practical tips that will help unleash the power and help you to shine from the inside out. So, I don't even think I'll introduce myself. I'm so excited. How could I not introduce myself? Hi, everybody. My name is Shardell Martin, and I'm your host. Get used to my voice. That's right. Get used to it because I'm your host for Pretty with Purpose podcast. So today, on our first episode, on this episode today, our topic is what's the purpose of your pretty? Ooh, wow. Now that sounds like a heavy topic. I think I need to repeat that. What's the purpose of your pretty? Ooh, I think I'm going to take my shoes off for this one. Yeah. So, good question. Let's start with defining the word pretty. Pretty, one of the definitions, pleasing or attractive to the eye by delicacy or gracefulness. The last definition I want to share is having conventionally accepted elements of beauty. So, what things do you see as being pretty about yourself? Is it the way you look? Is it particular features? Is it your smile, your eyes, your lips, the way you shape, the way you dress, your personality, certain qualities you possess? What do you see pretty about yourself? Or what things do you recall being compliment on about yourself that others find attractive? This is what we want to draw attention to today. What is the purpose of the things that are attractive about you? What purpose is it serving? Or in other words, I want to say it like this. How do you use the things that make you attractive? How do you use it? Do you abuse it? Or do you use it for good? Yeah. We're going to ask some hard questions. And one thing I ask of my listeners, as you're listening and these questions are coming forth, the conversation coming forth, feel free to examine yourself. Feel free to be honest with yourself. After all, this is Pretty with Purpose. And one thing about being pretty with purpose is we don't want to be in vain. We don't want to not have substance. So back to the questions, how do we use our pretty, the things that are attractive, the things about us that people are drawn to, the things about us that influence others and make people want to be around us, or that the things that, people like to draw from us to get what they need, or even things bottles that we know that we can use to get what we need from other people. So previous question asked was, do we abuse our attractiveness? Do we abuse it? Do we use the influence of our attractiveness to help people, to help ourselves, to do good? I know, me personally, I've been on the side of all of them. I've been on the side using my pretty to do good, using my pretty to help myself, as well as being on the side of I abuse my pretty, as well as I've been abused for being pretty. So there's many sides to this. And even when I talk about abusing your pretty, abuse means the misuse of something when you're not using it for the right purpose. So, for example, when you use, your beauty to manipulate to get something, and I put it in a very, very clear, practical picture. When it comes to relationships, whether it's men or women, do women use the things that is attractive about them to abstract from a man? Or do a man use what's attractive about him to extract from a woman? See, this goes both ways. I know I've been the manipulator. I've been the seducer. I've been, in that mindset and in that place. I can remember being young when I first started dating. I didn't know that it was okay to show your inner beauty. And I didn't know it was okay. And, me not knowing that, I was learning by way of experience. And when I say by way of experience, I was learning by my, my environment, the culture I was in, growing up in, North Philly, during that time, I remember being young and being well developed at a young age, just to help paint a picture. Very attractive looking, physically, from, my looks, my future, to the way I'm shaped. And I knew how to dress to I knew how to dress in a way that was pleasing to men. So, and because of, always being complimented on the way I looked and, my body, I gravitated towards it. I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So, I learned how to maximize in it. I learned, okay, if this is what's going to get the attention, of a man, then this is what I'm going to use. And when really, in all transparency, when I first started getting, out there and wanted to do serious date. I'm not talking about like the childhood date. You had the childhood crushes and you like a boy like you. I'm not talking about that. But, at an early age, I say like at the age of probably like around 14, 15, 16, in that age frame, getting out there, start dating serious, looking for love. But I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know the right way to go about getting it. And part of the reasons I was looking for love because my father wasn't there growing up. So I didn't realize it, but subconsciously I was looking to a man to fulfill the void of my father, not being there. So, when I got compliments on how I look and stuff, I gravitated, towards that because growing up, wasn't being, complimented, wasn't being taught right from wrong, wasn't, being taught the right way, so it was easy to gravitate towards that and allow that to become my voice of direction. And I thought, if, I gave a man, what he wanted in return, he would give me what I want, which I was looking for, someone to be, a provider, someone to take care of me, someone to love me, And I came to a point in life where I see this not working. And, I became grieved, on the inside. And I remember being young and going through times of practicing abstinence because it was like, I wanted more, in a relationship. I wanted more. I remember, saying silently to myself, like, it's more to me than my body. But although, it was that silent cry on the inside saying it's more to me than my body, but at the same time, that was all I was presenting. I didn't know how to show, my inner beauty. So I suppressed it. And it's like even men who did see past my outer exterior, those men I would push away. So it's like I had a lot of issues. I had a lot of issues, I was dealing with. So even when I talk about this, pretty, with purpose, well, our topic today, what's the purpose of, you're pretty? Because, it could be a two-edged sword. Being pretty can be a two-edged sword if you use it, from the perspective of using it to get what you want in relationships, using it in a way to manipulate. You don't realize you might be getting something in exchange. You might be getting your bills paid, or being financed, or using it to seduce to be, in a relationship. But there's that part of you that desire more. It's that part of you, your soul that wants more, that's not satisfying, that, that silent cry that's not happy. And although you're using this system, or you're going about it in a certain way, but on the inside, you're not happy. So, it could be a two-edged sword, or even from the perspective of, say you do use it, for good, and, people always, pulling from you, and, you don't know how to set boundaries. So you wind up feeling depleted, because it's like, okay, you run into the aid to help everybody else and to serve everybody else, but yet you're neglecting yourself. So I've been on both sides, the sides of using it in the wrong way and using it in a good way, but it still wind up being the wrong way, because if you don't know how to set boundaries, and, you use it in the wrong way, although it's your intention to do it for good, but it wind up being used in the wrong way, because it's that part of self-love. One of the things I like to say about self-love is this. The way you know you loving yourself, right, is because you don't stop loving you to love someone else. You don't stop loving you to love someone else. And that's the rule of thumb that we would use to measure, using pretty in the right way, using our influence in the right way is, am I, loving you or helping you at the price of hurting me? Or am I helping myself at the price of hurting you? Yeah. That's how we're going to see it. So that's the rule of thumb that we would use. How is it benefiting both of us, How is it helping me as well as helping you? That's the healthy line that's drawn. That's the healthy way of measuring it. I also want you to consider this. For those, in particular, but anybody that's applied to as well, but for those who take on the mindset, fair exchange, no robbery. It's not fair exchange, no robbery, if you're compromising. If you're compromising who you are as a person. If you're compromising in integrity. If you're compromising in your faith. There is a robbery. Although you may be getting some exchange for using your pretty, but at the end of the day, are you robbing your soul? Are you robbing, your soul of being healthy, your soul of being happy, your conscience being clean, Because one of the things, I wanted to bring attention to was one of the questions was, how do you use the things that make you attractive God's way? Now, if you don't care about pleasing God and living a life that's pleasing to God, then of course that's not going to apply to you. But if you do want to walk an upright life, you want to, want to perfect your relationship with God, and you want to come closer to God, then this matters to you. The things we do, how we steward our lives, how we steward our gifts, how we steward everything, how we steward ourselves, it matters. Because when you know that there's a calling on your life, when you have purpose on the inside of you, you understand this, that to much is given, much is required. So what it seems like somebody else winning or they getting away with something, don't be fooled. God is not mocked. Whatever a man soweth, that will he also reap. So do good to others as you will want good done to you. And Jesus also said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you won't want somebody abusing you, misusing you, don't misuse or abuse anyone else. I want to also share this. When I was in that place of abusing my attractiveness, can I say, although, it was times, it appeared to work in my favor, meaning I got what I wanted, but it was a part of me on the inside that wasn't happy, that, will feel convicted at time. And although, I was trying to satisfy a momentary pleasure, on the inside, I still wasn't happy. And this is what I'm trying to really shine the light on. Going deeper. Because far too often, we're living from the shallow place. And we wonder why we're not happy. And it's because it's our soul is trying to redirect us. Our soul is trying to speak. God is trying to speak to us. He's trying to speak through our soul, speak through the voice, speak through the hurt, speak through the pain. But are we allowing God to speak? Or we keep ourselves busy and we keep distractions around us so we can't get quiet long enough to allow ourselves heal, get quiet long enough to allow God to address the issues, the hurts, the pain, to allow God to redirect us, to realign us, to give us what our heart and soul is really crying out for, that wholeness that can only come through alignment, true alignment with God. That alignment where, you're doing what's necessary to make sure you're loving yourself right, you're taking care of yourself right, you healed, you allow God to fill the voice, and you have things in this right perspective, in this right place where you're not looking to a man to give you what your father didn't give you. You're not looking to friends and relationships and things and achieving the American dream to find fulfillment, but you understand that true fulfillment is within, and anything we gain outside of ourselves is just the addition. It doesn't make us who we are. It's not who we are. It's not, our relationship status. It's not being a mother, a father. It's not, knowing this person, knowing that person, making this amount of money, driving this car, having this house, being amongst this social group and having this status and having this influence. No. It's about self, and self being whole, and self being right with God. And it's in that place where we truly experience life and life more abundantly. And I'm going to pause right there because I could go deeper, but let's get back on topic. At this time, I want to shift And I want to give you some tips on how to grow. Here are the practical tips on how to grow in this area. So, one of the first things I want you to do is pray and ask God, how can you use your pretty for good and for His purpose? I'm going to repeat that. Pray and ask God, how can you use your pretty for good and for His purpose? Next thing is this. I want you to do a time of reflection. And in this time of reflection, I want you to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, how have you used your pretty in the wrong way? And how will you change that? How have you used your pretty in the wrong way? And how will you change that? Okay, so we're about at the end. And these are my final thoughts. This is what I want to leave you with. Your pretty has a purpose. And my question to you is, will you use your pretty for God or will you use it for yourself? The decision is yours. But just remember, with our choices come consequences, whether good or whether bad. The decisions is ours. My hope is that you allow God to use your pretty for His glory and not for selfish gain. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you for tuning into Pretty with Purpose, Unleashing the Power Within You podcast. I'm excited you joined me today, and I hope that you join me again next week. Until next time, my loves, be pretty with a purpose.